everyone. Welcome back to Geek Reel. Today we are interviewing London St Juniper, burlesque and sideshow performer and pending PhD, I believe, right?
That's right, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's about your course of study?
So I am a PhD candidate, and I came to my program as a Victorianist, so studying 19th century literature. To most people, that means Dickens, although I hate Dickens. I prefer Dracula, and I prefer H.G. Wells and the late Victorian geekery, really.
Nice.
My very first semester of my program, I took my first class in comic books. I'd never read superhero comics before I started my PhD.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I very quickly fell in love, and I very quickly saw a lot of things in common with my Victorian literary studies. And so I have developed a dissertation that compares Victorian villains to Batman villains.
Okay, I could see that. It was a very hokey movie, but I think it was late '90s, early 2000s, called The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes, that is an Alan Moore comic as well as film. Yeah.
So basically, like a Victorian Justice League, so to speak.
Basically, yeah. Yes.
All right, and so I guess we'll start with, how have you been sort of keeping sane during quarantine? I think we had a glitch there.
Interestingly, yeah, just a little bit. Are you good?
Yep.
So as an academic, I actually spend most of my time alone anyway, already. And so the level of isolation was not unusual for me. What's unusual for me is that the rest of my family is also in my house now. So my life is a little more busy than it was, and it's a little louder than it was before. To get me time, I've been practicing aerials. I have an aerial rig in my backyard, and so
awesome.
A lot of trapeze and aerial silks when I can get away, and long walks around the neighborhood at very far distances from other people.
That's got to be a great workout. I've wanted to get into aerial before, but I've never been brave enough to take the plunge.
There you are.
But say aerial, that's got to be a great workout, huh? It
really is. It's far better than going to the gym for me.
Okay.
I'm not very interested in weightlifting, but I will absolutely lift my own weight up an apparatus. So.
Excellent. So I guess that takes us into, and I have a feeling this question is going to take us some time to answer with what I've already gathered here. What are some creative projects you've got on the horizon?
So I miss burlesque so much. And so I'm trying to take the time to build up some of the complicated acts that I've planned. Okay. One of which is a Medusa burlesque sideshow act that incorporates bed of nails and glass walking, but the costume is going to be animatronic. So I'm learning electronics thanks to Adafruit tutorials.
All right, some next level stuff there.
I'm trying. So I can't dance, so I have to be interesting in other ways on stage.
I pretend to every now and then, I get it.
If it's purposefully bad, I can do it. Like the Batsui is great. I got that down, no problem, but yeah.
I see a little bit of the workshop there in the background. Is there any project right now you're able to show us that you're working on, or?
Well, those are like pre-quarantine deadlines. In February, I debuted an act as the Jurassic Park tour car, where I was actually the car, and I was taken apart by, actually, I'll show you.
Excellent.
I made myself.
Yes.
A T-Rex puppet.
That is
and
fantastic.
She took off my my costume as the Jeep, which was good fun.
Okay.
So her name is Betty.
Rex.
Yeah, and then this is the start of my animatronic Medusa wig.
That looks amazing.
So when that's, I need to work on the coding. It's a bit jerky and strange right now, but when it's working, they all move and they all light up in different colors.
Oh my gosh, I have to see this number when it's ready.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully it is. Someday.
So you'd already talked a little bit about it, about the, having the family at home all the time, but how has this been affecting your social sphere lately?
We have been doing a lot of Zoom happy hours. We used to do a Friday night, gathering of everyone every week, and we've done it for years, and so we've had to move online. I'm actually seeing more people now because Zoom allows us to pack more people into a group. So it's nice. I'm doing movie nights with friends, using the technology that's available, but I really miss collapsing into my best friend's couch and just hanging out. And yeah, being on camera all the time is also really stressful.
I describe my friends group as a puppy pile. So we all kind of just like to glomp on top of each other. Yeah, us not being able to do that, there's going to be a lot of just piles of love going on once this is all over.
Yeah, it's going to be really strange making those physical connections again.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like we're all coming out of our fallout shelters respectively.
Yes, absolutely.
Ooh, hold on, I'm making a note of that one. So you said that you spend a lot of time at home. Do you? So my next question was going to be: have you found any of this extra time useful, or has this quarantine created any extra time for you?
It's taken time. I have 3 grade school children, so I'm essentially homeschooling them now. All of their classwork has been moved online, and children are even worse at online learning than adults are.
Oh, and
so it's difficult. It's awful. It's awful. So as bad as college students and grad students are at online learning, children are even worse. They don't know how to use this technology, and so a lot of my early day is spent just trying to get them to do the bare minimum.
Gotcha. Yeah, my wife's on usually working with me for the same reason.
Yeah.
Let's see. Have you So, I mean, you're a performer. You've got a following of your own. Have you found this to be challenging to engage with your audience or with your fandom? Well, I guess 2 different things: your audience or the things that you're interested in, and what challenges have you either found or overcome in new ways to kind of connect with your audience?
So in terms of being a performer, I really miss that engagement. I'm having a difficult time trying to balance those creative desires with the limits in space and everything else. There's a producer in Richmond, Virginia, Ellie Quinn, who's done online burlesque shows, which has been lovely. She does a kind of a charades style thing where she presents the show silently because of media copyrights, right?
Okay.
And then she gives hints to what the songs are. And so people are supposed to guess the song that the performer is using, and then they can play it on their own side. It's really great. It's really brilliant and fabulous. I did one with her a couple of weeks ago, and then my burlesque anniversary is coming up.
Ooh.
Yeah, my 3rd anniversary. I'm very excited. And so to celebrate, I am going to record an exorcist trapeze burlesque routine that she is going to put in one of her mid-May shows.
That's fantastic. So this is taking me back because circus was a lot of my background as well before I got into burlesque. Clown, vaudeville, things like that.
Oh, how fun.
Mentioning Ellie Quinn, didn't she have a Kirby number that she did a few years ago? Did you ever see that?
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it. I know that she does it, yeah.
I lost my mind the first time I saw that number. I was clapping like a penguin trying to take flight. I was just so excited by that number. If you get a chance to see it, it's amazing.
Ellie is fantastic. She's amazing. I adore her. She's the one who does a yearly Jurassic Pasty show.
Okay.
Every February, and my wife and I, we both perform in that show. We have an Ian Malcolm and Dr. Grant duet that
Nice.
we do together, which is really fun.
Yes.
And so Jurassic Park is our household fandom. Everyone in our household is obsessed with Jurassic Park. So
Okay, okay. I feel like I'm
that's a
gonna
lot
have
of
to take a
fun.
trip to Richmond to see some shows. That sounds like that's in my future here.
You cannot go wrong with an Ellie Quinn show. Yeah, they're good. And she's still doing the online shows. So those
Actually,
are available.
so Richmond, is Gallery 5 still up and running?
Well, pre-pandemic, that is where we performed.
Okay,
Yeah.
the fire station, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
performed there on a traveling tour back in '07, and I
Okay.
love that venue. It was such an amazing venue.
So cool. It is such a cool space. They don't have the upstairs anymore.
Oh,
They closed that and it's a separate apartment now or retail
okay.
space. I'm not really sure. But yeah, the downstairs is still there and it's such a fun stage and a great, great space to perform.
We got to perform with, there was a local band there called the Hot Dams, and they
Okay.
were just absolute gems to work with. Um, yeah, just had a lot of fun at Gallery 5. I could go on about that for a little while, but we're here to talk about you.
We can talk about Gallery 5 too. I miss them. I love that space.
It was such a great venue, and the people that owned it were absolute sweethearts. I mean, we were traveling circus performers, but we were like this little troop of nobodies, these little ragamuffins coming through town, and they just like gave us this blue star treatment. You know, the other performers were so great. In fact, that was so I was a mime back then, and the other performers would pull me into different things that they were doing on, you know, outside and in the front area. And so by the time it was time for me to perform later in the evening, and this was like a 3-hour show, I get on stage. Gallery 5 is packed all the way down, so it's like I think 500 to 700 people.
It's up there.
And because I'd been interacting with everybody all throughout the day, and they saw me playing around with either the performers, I'd do mime stuff with the different people in the audience, I get on stage to do my number and somebody yells, "It's the mime!" And everybody went nuts. And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it.
It was such an amazing experience. I'm coming on to do my mime
That's so
routine
fun.
and get this like huge applause before I even did anything. I was like, ah.
They have a really great performance scene down there. Really lovely audiences, great spaces. Yeah.
So what are some goals of yours? And I know that, I mean, so the pandemic has made this very up in the air for a lot of us. What are some of your goals for the next 6 months to 1 year, and how have you had to kind of reevaluate those in the last month or so?
So I should defend my PhD dissertation this summer. So hopefully by the end of the summer, I will be Dr. St. Juniper. I'm really looking forward to that. I have two like fandom themed book chapters coming out probably within the next year. One is a collection of essays on feminist perspectives on comics.
Okay.
And I wrote a chapter on Catwoman for that volume. And then there's another one on sartorial fandom, so clothing and fashion related to fandom.
Okay.
And I wrote a chapter on cosplay.
Ooh.
And to that end, I have had a publisher show interest in my book on cosplay. And so this month, I need to send them a proposal, a finished proposal for that. So that's a lot of geekery. But other than that, I'm really hoping I get to Salem for the great Burlesque Expo. I was supposed to perform there in April. And as the gothy, creepy burlesque performer that I am, I'm really heartbroken that I missed that.
Yes.
I was supposed to debut. Yeah.
Have they
never been.
Have they postponed it, or is it just canceled this year altogether?
Well, they have postponed it for now. So hopefully, I think it's over Labor Day weekend. But I am trying not to be too optimistic about when we are released, because it doesn't sound like anyone has a really great plan for it yet. So
yeah. And that's the thing is it's so difficult to make any plans for that right now.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
in the air. Okay, well let's get more into more of the fun stuff. What are some of your favorite fandoms that you're into right now? Either like comics, games, anime, or it sounds like you're kind of like expanding the definition of fandom. You know, obviously going into a Victorian era stuff. Jurassic Park hadn't been something that I would have considered before. So what are some of your favorite fandoms that you love to indulge in and share with others?
So when I think of fandom, I'm very like fashion and clothing, you know, interested and invested. And so cosplay is a big one for me.
Okay.
And as both a cosplayer, as a Nerd Left performer, and as a scholar, I look at cosplay as its own fandom.
Yeah.
It's a fandom for costuming, for dressing up, for, you know, that kind of play. And so I think it's, you know, you can love the act more than just the intellectual property that you're representing. So I love cosplay. I didn't really read comics until I started my PhD. As a teenage goth girl, I read Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
I remember him.
Which I would buy at Hot Topic back in the day. But now, you know, I love comics and I love the variety that's there and a wide range of it. I love film, which is really, you know, very, very fun and engaging. And I think film and comics are a similar fandom for me because I like the visual aspects of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a traditional narrative storytelling, but in very over-the-top visual ways. So in terms of comics, I'm clearly very invested in Batman.
That was, I think, at the last Nerd Lust Festival, you performed as Joker.
And Alfred.
And Alf. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as a fellow Joker, you know, solidarity.
Actually, I don't know if you remember it, but I have Joker's flayed face tattooed on my arm.
Wow. That's awesome.
So I have Harley Quinn, and I have Bane, and I have Joker, and Scarecrow, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman.
Nice. Oh my gosh.
So
that is
I've literally branded myself with my fandom.
I see that. Yeah. That's amazing. That's a really impressive sleeve. Sorry.
Thank you.
Totally threw whatever I was thinking of next.
Yeah.
Are there any upcoming releases that you're really looking forward to?
So I don't follow comics releases especially because I came to it so late in you know, my life, that I'm never going to run out of anything to read. No. There's always going to be something there, and so I don't really get anxious for anything that's coming out. I think I am really super excited for Candyman, the film, to come out in September.
I forgot.
I did not. I'm so excited for Candyman. And I'm really excited for The Watch to come out. Are you familiar with Terry Pratchett?
Very much.
Novelist?
Yep.
Okay. So do you know that The Watch is coming out as a TV series?
I don't know if I'm familiar with The Watch, so I know more his Discworld stuff. And then we actually just did a review with another interview about Good Omens.
Oh, fabulous. So The Watch, the TV show, is Discworld. It's about the Ankh-Morpork Watch.
Oh, that watch. Okay.
Yeah, and so they are, I don't know when this year it's coming out, but they've done either a miniseries or a full TV series on The Watch.
That's kind of fun. All right.
Yeah.
But they haven't given a release date for that yet?
I don't know of it.
All right. I'm actually writing my own book series right now, and I hadn't thought of it until just now, but there's this group of completely inept but also bored with their job guards at one place in the story, and I'm like, wait, that was totally like kind of fueled by The Watch from Ankh-Morporks.
Nobby knobs. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'll be really excited to see that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
They are good fun.
So what is, do you have kind of a new obsession? Any new fandoms that you've gotten into recently?
Um, a little bit. So it goes back to, I guess, like my obsession with film. I am really like strangely obsessed with Netflix original horror movies.
Hmm.
Um, they're fantastic and awful. I have a theory that they aren't written by real people, that they're written by some sort of like AI, because they are generically perfect. Like they have the right characters, they have the right build up, they have like the right sequence of events, and it's like if you're thinking of the genre of horror movies, it's like it's perfect. It's so well done, but it has no soul. Like the conclusion happens, and there's like no point
Um,
to it.
okay.
There's no like human resolution. And so I love them as like these really strange examples of genre that also don't get it.
So it's interesting. So as a writer, I've had to study this a lot myself as a fiction writer versus academic, and a lot of material has been released in the last 20 years about formula, about outline, about how to structure the piece.
Yeah.
And I think there might be something going on there where a lot of writers are learning how to structure it. So structurally, it hits all the points, checks all the boxes. But if you don't have a story to tell, like you said, that soul is still going to be missing.
So I joke that it's AI, but your explanation is actually more logical. It's probably developing writers who are getting their feet under themselves, and they understand genre, and they understand the appropriate formula that audiences are going to respond to.
Right.
But and yeah, they're probably pulling their punches a little bit.
It might be pulling their punches. It might be not understanding what a personal journey is, you know, because that's the thing I found early on in college. So I divided off from a lot of my writer friends who were getting creative writing degrees or English degrees. I went and got a history degree.
Ooh,
and I went in that direction because I'm like, I want stories to be able to draw from. I want to be able to give context and layers to whatever I'm writing. And I would read my friends' stories, and I'm not saying my stories are that amazing, but I would just read my friends' stories, and I would see like this is very heavily based off of a D&D game that they played, or this is a derivative of a video game that we've both played, or some other fandom, which is fine. We all borrow from bits and pieces. You know, every time I pick up another British novelist from the 20th century, I find another J.K. Rowling, inspiration there somewhere. But it's this lack of journey, this lack of personal development for the character, because it's not just that, Frodo took the ring to Mount Doom. It's that he had to learn self-determination and break away from people, but also, again, learn how to trust and how to be a complete person again after breaking down at the end of the story. And that's the story. The ring and Mordor and Mount Doom and all that was the vehicle to get him there, but he had to have that personal journey for us to care.
It's Joseph Campbell's hero's journey.
Yes.
And it's not about the beginning, the apex and the end. It's all of the steps that are in between that add the complexity to that narrative.
Right. One of the things I love about Joseph Campbell's explanation is the underworld, where you have to go through the dream state and, this sort of self-discovery of facing their own reflection and journeying through this other world to find all these things that are the antithesis of the world that they came from. So that way, as they go through all this, underbelly stuff, when they come back later on, they're bringing these lessons that they have learned with them, not just the elixir or the talisman, but what they have learned as a result. A really adorable example of that was, did you ever see the movie Stardust?
No.
Oh, love Stardust. All right, well, now I'm trying to think of how to describe it without spoiling anything, because it's one of the most amazing cameos by Robert De Niro I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
I won't ruin that for you because I want you to experience that moment the same way I did. But Charlie, the main character, starts with what he thinks he wants and things he needs, and then goes through this huge journey to get that, but then at the end realizes what he actually needs as a person. And it's such a great, example of that hero's journey. But also really cute movie. Might be great for date night. So
I was going to say, you say that, and it sounds like the kind of film that my wife has probably seen a dozen times and really loves. So if I mention that, I'm going to guess that she's going to get excited.
All right. So before we go ahead and wrap up, do you have any advice for people kind of dealing with quarantine right now? If there's anything that you found to kind of help deal with sort of the isolation or the uncertainty, or any sort of love or serenity you'd like to share with the geek world?
Geek out. Indulge in all of your favorite things. It is okay. Don't let Netflix shame you. Yes, you are still watching that show and you are not sorry for it. It is a fun time to find new media and new interests. But it's also a really good time just to crawl under your comforter and go back to all of your favorite movies. There's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. Indulge in them all and take care of yourself.
All right, excellent. London, thank you so much for joining us this week. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks, I've really enjoyed it.
I'm going to be posting her information below, so make sure to click those links and like those pages. Feel free to like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe so you can catch more videos like this with wonderful interviewees like London St Juniper. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again.